Okay, so I have returned Simai's logo to its original state, the way that she had it in class. Bengisu's crow logo is gone, but instead we now have a new logo, which is made by Zeynep Keten in class. And I'm going to use these two logos to talk about freehand fonts, which I've noticed some of you used, and I also noticed that the ones who did use them in a very conservative kind of way. And also, in a strange kind of way, you used the kinds that are in the middle between handwritten fonts and script fonts. So I want to talk a little bit about what handwritten fonts are and what script fonts are, because they are not the same thing. Now, with these two, they are both freehand fonts. That's the same, but they are not the same thing in their structure. Now, both with this one and with this one, these do not really look like as if they were written by hand. I mean, nobody could write by hand like this, right? To make such perfect strokes and, equal width and whatever, equal weight. And same thing here. But they are not exactly script fonts either. So what's the difference? What are script fonts? What are handwritten fonts? So I actually have a collection of script fonts here. And I also have a collection of handwritten fonts here. And some of them, like this one here, is kind of really in the middle. But they have a difference. They have a very basic difference. Now, handwritten fonts do look like as if they were written by hand. That's how they are constructed. Now, that also brings with it a difficulty, which I have talked about before. Now, handwritten fonts emulate our handwriting, our human handwriting, but they can't do what we do, which is to write every character that we write throughout our lifetime differently. We could write 1,000,000 O's or A's or whatever, and each one of them would be completely different. But since these are fonts, the O is exactly identical to the O, and that's how it goes. You can type hundreds of O's and they will always be the same, or A's or whatever. And with handwriting, we don't have that, obviously. With handwriting, each and every one of them is different. So that's a flaw that handwritten fonts have, but that aside, they are nice. And especially in recent years, they have made some very, very nice ones. Font designers have really put together some very beautiful handwritten font packages, so we do use them, bearing that shortcoming in mind. But script fonts are actually quite different, and let me go here to show you what I mean. Script fonts are historic, so they have a historic background. They were used in the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. They were used on copperplate engravings. So if we, for example, if I open this here, we can see this in quite a large size. So there's this perfection here. It's very obvious that this wasn't written by hand. So what was it written with? It was written with a quill. So let's see if I make this bigger. So we have this thing here. This is a quill. In Turkish we call it kamış. And that is how these kinds of scripts were actually written, and then they were also used in engravings. So that's the difference. Script fonts have that perfection. Let me open this up as well to show you another example. And then nowadays we have contemporary interpretations of script fonts, some of which are very, very beautiful, and I have quite a collection of them myself, although I rarely have the opportunity to use them. But basically, that is the difference. Now when we come back here, now these are somewhere in the middle. They're not handwritten fonts, they don't look like handwriting, they sort of look like scripts, except they don't, because scripts have that historic beautiful curvature and that let's see, let me go back here, and they have this beautiful variation of width, of stroke width. So you have really thin strokes and you have really thick strokes, and then you have these perfect curves that always repeat the same rhythm. And with this, yes, we have the same rhythm, but we don't have that difference in width, in weight, and here we don't have it either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Simai's logo to work with a contemporary script font, and then Zeynep's to work with a handwritten font. So let's start with Simai. And the word karga, that's the one that we're going to be changing. So let me just move this away for now, and this, in order to be able to concentrate on this here. Now, if I go to the active fonts, some of which were sent to me by you people, but I also have some that I put here myself, and there's one here called Blackstad, which is a contemporary script font, and I'm going to try that one because I think it will actually work really nicely. Now this is going to have to get smaller, and the great thing about this Blackstad font is that, hold on, let me just release this in order to be able to work with it. I can actually have alternate characters with this. So I can have different kinds of curls to the K. And I think this one would be the one that would work the best. So let's stick with this one here. So now this is a real script font. It has the difference of weight. The thin strokes are really thin and the thick strokes are really thick. It's very obvious that this isn't handwritten, that it's written with a quill. So we are firmly in the land of script fonts. Now let's bring back the Umumi. And what I think I want to do with this here is, since this is very spread out, it's really spread out, right? It's kind of flowing in this very generous way. So in order to create a contrast, Simai used expanded, but I think I want to use extra condensed actually. And then bring it over and make it a bit smaller, I think, as well. And then align, let me see, do I still have guides here? No, I don't. Let me bring down a new guide and again do the thing that I've been talking about before, to align things that are rounded and that don't really have a strong baseline, to always align those things from the middle. So I think that'll be a smart thing to do here as well. And I think this can get even smaller. And the reason for that is that script fonts or handwritten fonts are very flamboyant. They have strong personalities, and so you want to emphasize that. You want to bring that to the fore. You don't want to make them be kind of equal with everything else. You want to give them that primary role. You know, they are prima donnas and you want to treat them like prima donnas. Now let's bring the crow back. Let me just hide this guide here. And this almost looks like as if it's done, but I think I'm going to make the crow a little bit bigger so that it creates a good balance with the karga, with the strong thing, but I'm going to move it out a bit. And so here we have Simai's font, but this time, logo, sorry, but this time with a real script font. She was using a sort of a script font, but it wasn't really. So now we have gone all the way and we've made this into a script font logo. Now let's come to Zeynep's, where again this is sort of something in the middle. It's not really this and it's not really that. It's not a script, but it's not a handwriting for sure. So let me see what we have in the active fonts that we can quickly maybe use for this. There's this font here called Ayustina, which I have a feeling might work very nicely with this, so let's give it a try. There it is. Yeah. So this does in fact look very, very nice when it's written like this. This is a real handwriting. It looks like as if it was written by a human being with a regular pencil or a fountain pen or something like that. Now we come on to this icon where I'm not sure if we even really need it, but let's give it a try anyway. But I think we probably need to rotate it in such a way that it actually looks like as if it's coming out of a plant or something. And then maybe move this over and move this over a bit. And yeah, I guess it could work. I might also just not use it at all if I was her. Again, I would align it from the center, maybe make it a little bit smaller. I don't think that we need a separator with this, because this is such a loosely structured font that a straight line or something like that would really not work with it. But just out of curiosity, there's one other font that I would like to try out here, which is this font called Before the Rain, because I have a feeling that that might work really nicely as well. And sure enough it does. Let's see what happens with the icon. With this one I really don't think that I would use an icon at all, because this here is so flamboyant and so sorry people, and so over the top that I think it stands by itself. I don't think it needs an additional visual element to complete it. Okay, so this, or if we go back in the history a little bit, this. See you later.